Hello everybody, ProtoFoxy here, and I want to thank you all for coming in and checking out the channel and checking out the video. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Five Nights at Freddy's, the fourth closet novel, written by Scott Cawthon and Kara Breed Risley. Hopefully I got that name right. First off, I want to let you all know that I will keep this spoiler free, so if you all are inclined in checking out the novel, which you should if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, you won't have to worry about any spoilers being dropped in this review at all. I will keep it brief, just hit some points here and there, and just talk about my overall feelings of the novel itself, and hopefully you all take it in and take it into consideration and all that good stuff. So here we go. First off, I want to talk about the composition and the writing of said novel. Obviously, if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, you're going to come to expect, as with the other novels, that the composition and the writing itself is geared more towards a younger audience. Obviously, the fan base at large for Five Nights at Freddy's is more based towards a younger audience. So this is definitely written with them in mind. But being an adult fan of the series, it does handle and tackle some mature subject matter. Obviously, the Five Nights at Freddy's series and franchise as a whole is definitely a more maturely themed storyline when it comes to its storyline, dealing with mature subjects, obviously murder and all of that, but it is definitely handled tastefully. It's definitely not vulgar in any way, shape, or form. It's definitely not gory, so it's not like you're gonna have any like Stephen King-esque writing here. It's definitely more geared towards a younger audience, which I definitely have to credit the authors on, because the subject matter handled in the franchise as a whole and in this book is, and sorry for the shaky camera there, let's straighten out, but the subject matter is definitely more mature. The pacing of the story itself is very kind of all over the place when you think about it, but what this novel has to do, you would almost expect for it to be all over the place, because this is actually the last novel in the Five Nights at Freddy's novel trilogy. So it has to tie up a lot of loose ends. There's definitely a lot of story threads going on with the different characters in the book. And it has a lot to do before it gets to its ultimate ending. And I feel like, even though the pacing is definitely a bit all over the place, it's not so uneven that it's not unenjoyable by any stretch of the imagination. It definitely is an enjoying read, and I think what was done well here with the pacing and with the writing itself is that we get through one character thread for the overall story, and then we go into another one, and it keeps you hanging on. It really keeps you enthralled as far as, well, what's going to happen next? Where are we going to go with this character as we jump into another character, ultimately leading up to the the book's climax and conclusion. Now, I will say, and again, in interest of keeping the spoiler free, the conclusion, from what I took away, was definitely, I don't know how satisfying I would find it. It's definitely an ending. This is definitely a conclusion. I'm still taking in, after finishing the book, and still taking in how I feel about it. So my feelings on the conclusion of its in and of itself is definitely, I guess I would have to say it's going to be about as satisfying as you're going to get from the Five Nights at Freddy's series. What Scott Cawthon has done, and this is definitely a tribute to his storytelling, is that he always gives you just enough that you can piece together your own conclusions. Obviously, there's a ton of theories all over the internet about the Five Nights at Freddy's storyline and timeline and this, that, and the other thing. And what this book does in typical Scott Cawthon fashion is it gives you all the pieces to piece things together. Yes, there's an ultimate conclusion, but there's still maybe some kind of maybe not unanswered questions, but more thought-provoking as far as the storyline goes. Like, well, how could this have been a certain thing? But as far as being the closing point of the Five Nights at Freddy's story, at least for now, I mean, who knows? Scott Cawthon has definitely said in different posts in regards to, the games and such that, oh, this is going to be the last game, and then here we go, or, a couple of more games after that. This may not, this is a conclusion for this story, which definitely, it definitely closes the book on the story. It definitely does. And as far as, that goes, it's definitely an ending. Whether or not you will find it a satisfying ending, that's definitely up to the reader, because for me, and obviously going into this and being a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, obviously the channel's name is Proto Foxy. Half of that is based on Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's, so I am a fan. I have to say, it's the ending, the conclusion, and everything contained here within the book is definitely done in Scott Cawthon fashion, where it's you have enough to piece it together and piece your own thoughts together, and at that point, then yes, it's definitely satisfying in that aspect. But as far as being an overall ending, you're not going to get a happy ending with the Five Nights at Freddy's series. Obviously, if you've read these books, if you've played these games, if you've jumped into the lore, you definitely know that this series is definitely not something that is full of happy conclusions. Obviously, with the ending of Ultimate Custom Night, and we see the final cutscene of Golden Freddy twitching. It's definitely not a series that's going to lend itself to happy endings. This is definitely, well, this is the end of it, and where do we go from here? Well, obviously, for the moment, nowhere. This is it. This is the ending we've got. But again, like I said, and I don't mean to sound like I'm praising Scott Cawthon up and down as the next great storyteller or anything like that, don't get me wrong. But as far as his storytelling goes for the Five Nights at Freddy's series, that it is definitely, it definitely does what it was meant to do. A good read if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, which, like I mentioned, I am, and I definitely enjoyed reading it. I will mention this. Don't go into this book without having read The Silver Eyes and the Twisted Ones, like I did. This is the first Five Nights at Freddy's novel I read. And there are definitely things from the other books, definitely some story points and plot threads and this, that, and the other thing that are concluded in this. And I kind of went in blind and was like, okay, now I need to go back and read and catch up, which I will definitely be doing. But this is definitely one of those books where it's like you have to go in knowing what has happened before. Again, if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, you definitely need to check this out. This gives you the ending, for better or worse, of the Five Nights at Freddy's story, as far as the novels go. There's definitely a lot of bleed into the game series in itself, which is interesting because Scott Cawthon has always said that, while the books themselves are canon, they follow almost like an alternate timeline or alternate universe kind of thing. And with this book, we're actually almost kind of seeing this bleed more and more into the game series, which is interesting because we were led to believe that this is totally separate. Now, maybe not so much. And as you get into reading the book, you're going to realize that this tells the story more of what went down at the Circus Baby's Pizza World location, the place before the sister location game, because obviously as you get into the sister location game, you're not playing at Circus Baby's Pizza World, you're playing at the rental place where you can rent out the animatronics. So maybe this happens in the timeline there, but that's definitely left for a video that is meant more for theories as opposed to, say, a review of the book. But yeah, those are my thoughts on it. The composition and writing was definitely well and handled very tastefully considering the subject matter. If you're a parent and you have a child that's a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, you definitely don't have to worry about letting them read this book and what they're going to take away from it. This is definitely geared more towards that younger audience, especially considering that the publisher is Scholastic. That's definitely obviously more geared towards younger audiences. So yeah, I definitely felt comfortable letting my son read the book because he has a copy as well. And it's definitely handled very tastefully. No gore or anything like that. It is definitely handled well. The pacing, like I said, is definitely a bit more breakneck from what I understand of the other novels. I was told, I had read reviews and was told that the other novels definitely have more of a slower pace. This is definitely quicker paced. It definitely gets you to that conclusion really quickly, which is good. It was definitely an enjoyable read, and it kept me interested. I couldn't put the book down. I actually finished it in 2 days between shifts at work. So yeah, I would say if you're a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, definitely get this book. If you're not, and you maybe kind of had some interest, I don't think this will alter your thoughts on it. This is definitely seems more like this is written and geared towards people who are fans of the franchise, fans of the lore, and all of that stuff. It's definitely not going to change your mind if you're not a fan. But if you're interested, go ahead and give it a chance. I would definitely recommend it. I want to thank you all for taking the time for coming in and checking out the video and hearing my thoughts on The Fourth Closet. I definitely have more content coming soon, different things. I definitely would like to take looks at other novels, and even in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, because I'm a Five Nights at Freddy's fan. But videos are coming. I know the channel's been a little slow, but life happens, and that's the way it goes. And this is all for fun, and we're here to enjoy things. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you like the thoughts. Hit me up in the comments section down below. Let me know what you think. Have you checked out the book? Will you check out the book? Heck, even if you just got some commentary on, commentary and feedback on the channel, let me know. I definitely want to interact with you all. Everybody who's going to come and check out the channel, I want to interact. I want feedback and how we can make things better and where I can go next as far as things I'm going to do with the channel as far as content. But if you're here, you liked what you saw, please hit that like and subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. I would definitely, love to see you all coming back and enjoying what I'm offering here. And that's the way this works. We get these things out there, and this is how we grow. In the meantime, I want to send a shout out to a couple of friends of mine here on the YouTube planet existence we got going on here. I do a couple of podcasts. One with Attack the Glitcher, where we're talking about video games. It's called the Game Dosage Podcast, and you can check that out on Monday nights, and I'm a panel member on there. And then you can also check out Mr. Boomstick XL here on YouTube as well. I was just on with him on his podcast called Breakfast with Boom, and that was a lot of fun. Definitely check him out. Yes, give him a like, give him a subscribe. Check out the stuff, check out the content. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to talk about video games, and that's what those channels are based on. Other than that, yeah, final thoughts. If you're a fan, you need to read this book. If you're not a fan, unless you're open-minded, it may not change your mind, but give it a shot anyway. This is the end of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise as far as the novels go, at least as far as what Scott Cawthon is telling us at the moment. So you definitely need to read it. It definitely closes the book on the story, ties up some loose threads. It gives us a few others, but that's definitely typical of Five Nights at Freddy's, and that's what that does. Again, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thanks for checking it out. If you liked it, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.